Also, today, I just want to mention this because I've been giggling about it all morning. I was like researching something for a potential article about The Boys. And do you know that scene in The Boys, like just Homelander lets the plane crash?
Yeah.
I was just on that to get a screenshot for the article, and just the top comment was, well, it's not surprising, it's called Homelander, not Planelander.
I saw that as a TikTok not long ago going around.
It just had me. But yes, welcome to another episode of Wiki Weekdays with me, your host, Karl Smallwood, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Lucas Holland.
Hello there.
Very Ewan McGregor-esque with that hello there, Lucas.
I give it my best. I didn't really.
And for anyone who's not listened to the podcast before or just wants to hear me say it again, the theme of Wiki Weekdays is myself and Lucas will scour the lengths and breadths of the internet to find a random wiki on a subject that we're interested in and share it with you, our audience. And we have a little gimmick where you can let us know in the comments which wiki won this week. And I believe I went first last week, so it's your turn to go for the first wiki. And there's no theme this week, so it's just whatever you found that you want to talk about, which is...
We're not doing the Barbie Oppenheimer podcast now? No.
Is yours about Barbie? You can do Barbie if you want.
I was very tempted to look up a Barbie thing, but I have not gone that way. In fact, I've gone a little bit maybe like polar opposite to what Barbie is.
What would be the opposite of Barbie?
Well,
it'd be Action Man, right?
Near enough.
G.I. Joe, maybe?
So I've gone close to Action Man, and that is just the man that is Tom Cruise. And I have gone for the Mission Impossible film series.
Okay, because Mission Impossible is also in the theatre, and I kind of feel bad for Tom Cruise that he's trying really hard to promote Mission Impossible, and I was like, but the Barbie movie, though. And it's like, he threw himself off a mountain for this movie and straps himself to an exploding train, and everyone's like, would you see Margot Robbie on the pink carpet, though?
Yeah, like, it looks like they've basically made, like, the Uncharted 2 train sequence happen in real life, but...
Yes.
They've gotten really fucking good reviews. Apparently the movie's amazing, but nobody's talking about because it's just the Barbie Oppenheimer thing.
Like, Mission Impossible might be one of the just like low-key best movie series, because I don't think there's ever been a bad Mission Impossible movie, and every single one gets better in terms of, like, you know, the spectacle and scale. Like, which one do you not like?
I don't remember Mission Impossible 2 being a good movie.
That's the one with the motorbike chase, right?
That's the John Woo one.
Well, John Woo, like, it might be a bit different, but I think like all the Mission Impossible movies they're very, very good action movies.
I think,
and the fact it's all done practically as well.
Maybe Mission Impossible 2 was like seen as like okay at the time. We'll get into that, I suppose. But I think in this series of like action thriller movies, the John Woo one really stands out as being like completely different and weird in the franchise now.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's
set such a tone, whereas MI2 just is completely against it.
Yeah, and I really do like the Mission Impossible movies. It's like I said, low key. Just it's like, do you know when we discovered that Karl Urban's one of our favorite actors?
Mm-hmm. And
it's like, oh yeah, because he's in a bunch of movies that I like. I think same thing with Mission Impossible. Like, I've never not watched a Mission Impossible movie and walked away entertained. They're awesome. It's all done practically. I'm a huge lover of practical effects, and just Tom Cruise is insane, as we're probably going to discuss.
As we are. We're specifically talking about Mission Impossible, the film series, and it is a series of American action spy films based on the 1966 TV series created by Bruce Geller.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you still have that very classic Mission Impossible theme.
Yeah, I can't remember whether they were using it in the newer movies or not.
They always do.
They always do.
It's similar to, like, you know, the James Bond theme. I think Mission Impossible is just American James Bond, and I'm going to be controversial here as a Brit, as I prefer Mission Impossible. I think James Bond gets too bogged down in the lore of James Bond, whereas Mission Impossible is like, no, fuck it, just throw a train at Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I definitely think that they are better movies. I like the tone of some of the James Bond movies in terms of how silly they are and how over the top they can get with like weirdo gadgets, whereas Mission Impossible is always the same weird gadget because it's just the masks.
Mm-hmm. And I have never understood how they don't use that more. Like, it's the most broken. Like, I know they have all the crazy, but just the fact that you can wear a mask that makes you look like somebody else.
I mean, they use it in like every movie.
But I've never understood why they don't do that with random people so they can have cameos of, like, say, like, Judi Dench is in James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get an actress like that, but then have an action scene with, like, Tom Cruise wearing her face. So you can just have a scene of, like, Judi Dench doing all that crazy, or, you know, some actor or actress that you wouldn't expect that to happen with.
It's weird that we haven't had that with Matt Damon.
Excuse for it.
Like, the fact we haven't had a Matt Damon mask at some point.
Where's the crossover of, like, Jason? Where's, like, just the scene where Ethan Hunt meets Jason Bourne?
Well, that's one of the movies.
Is it?
Yeah, because Jeremy Renner was the replacement for Tom Cruise in like MI4 or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And
then
he
they bring
was
you back.
Jason Bourne at the time.
So we had Jason. Well, that's crazy, isn't it?
So
I want a crossover with all of them. I want Jason Bourne. I want John Wick. I want the Equalizer. And do you know what I really want? I want Jack Reacher as well, because he's also played by Tom Cruise in the movies.
And then just get Sean Connery in from retirement.
Oh, he's dead.
Did Sean Connery die?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember that. The last thing in my head, I was like, I knew he'd retired, which is why he wasn't in films after like The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but I forgot about that.
We've still got Pierce Brosnan. You can put him in.
You can. But he's busy, you know, maybe being a DC character. Nobody's sure.
Yeah, he's Dr. Fate now, isn't
he? Is he? Is he? Nobody knows anymore. The only actor that's not coming back from DC is Henry Cavill, and the rest are all just current question marks. But anyway, the series is mainly produced and stars Tom Cruise, who plays a sociopath known as Ethan Hunt.
He does shoot a lot of people.
Well, I was
he
more
shoots
thinking,
so many people.
You've got to have something wrong with you if you're willing to just do the stunts that this man does.
I think that's why it's like I kind of feel bad, because like every Mission Impossible movie is always trying to up the stakes, and I didn't know how they were going to up the stakes from like the fourth one, where it's like Burj Khalifa.
Yeah,
like Tom Cruise in real life climbed Burj Khalifa, and was that shot of him on top of it without any support.
Isn't there as well? Is that the same movie where he learned to like hold his breath for 8 minutes or whatever?
I think 6.5. I think that's the same movie, yeah. And then he strapped himself to a plane, and then there's like one of those movies where he broke his ankle in real life while filming a shot, and that shot made it into the film.
Like if you break your ankle for a shot, you want it to be used, don't you?
But he runs on the broken ankle.
Mm-hmm.
He runs on it. Because they needed to complete the shot, and he just walks off set and went, "Yeah, I broke my ankle."
I think that was maybe also Mission Impossible 4, but I can't remember it completely.
Yeah,
but yeah, just the idea that he's like thrown himself out of the airplane to do that like really cool air diving sequence with somebody actually air diving with the camera.
Yeah,
with him I think, to get the shot practically. It's oh my god.
I think the newer movies kind of overshadow the earlier ones because of the scale. Mm-hmm. But just some of the little things he did in the earlier movies, like, blow my mind that he did them. Like, Joe, the Mission Impossible 2, or I think it's Mission Impossible 2, it starts in free climbing. Like, they have that shot of him, I don't know which one, but he was climbing the mountain. And he does, like, the upside down shot where he grabs and puts his legs all the way up and around. Mm. He did that in real life. That's really being done on a real mountain without any support. And they only put it in the film because Tom Cruise wanted to learn how to do it. Like, he just wanted to learn how to free climb. I
mean, that's most of the reason that Tom Cruise is in these movies and produces these movies, because it's like, well, no, if I own the production company, I can just make myself do whatever stunt I want, whereas...
Yeah, because no movie studio would let him do it, because why would we let our main star risk his life? So just like, what was it, how he announced the newest one? Well, like, he was in a plane. Did you see that?
No.
Like, he was strapped to the outside of a plane, and that's how he announced Mission Impossible, the trailer, I think. Like, he just zooms out and he's, like, strapped to a plane. It's crazy.
But yeah, so much of these movies are seemingly just designed to get Tom Cruise off in, like, the adrenaline junkie kind of way.
It really feels like they're trying to kill him.
It feels like he's trying to kill himself in just the most impressive way possible.
Like, it feels like, do you know, like Fortune in Metal Gear Solid 2, where she's like cursed to never die because she's too lucky? It feels like that. It feels like he got a curse of being lucky, and it's like, okay, what can I possibly do to test this? I'm going to strap myself to an airplane and throw myself out of it 1,000 miles an hour.
That's what,
I'm going to climb Burj Khalifa. I'm going to free climb a mountain. I'm going to like motorcycle jump. I'm going to fight Henry Cavill in his prime.
Henry Cavill in his reloading arms.
Oh man, do you ever see that interview where Henry Cavill's like, "I didn't want to do that, but the director thought it was really cool."
Well, it's that he did it in one shot, right? And like, if anyone doesn't know, it's kind of the
like
pump.
when he's like walking over to Tom Cruise, he like goes
and
like that.
And yeah, he said he did it in one shot, like without really thinking about it, and went in his head.
He was
like,
just like,
man, that looks dumb as fuck.
Do you know that thing you do when you like try to like shake out your arms or something? He was just trying to shake out his arms because obviously he hurt his hands for the scene because he punches the wall or something. And the director said, "No, do it."
It's like, oh no, that looked fucking awesome, and they were right. It does look really fucking cool.
It makes because it's like I did it now, I look stupid, but I'm not like 3 foot wider. If I was 3 foot wider and had a beard, I'd look all right. It's like something still happened. I think it's Wolf of Wall Street. Do you know the bit like Matthew McConaughey's like just a boom 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 like that?
Oh yeah.
That's just something he does as a vocal warm-up.
And they just saw him doing it and was like, nope,
put it in the movie.
That goes in. That goes in.
Yeah, put it in the movie. It's the same thing with another one of those is Blade, where it's some motherfuckers are always trying to like skate uphill.
Yeah, said that was like while he was just in a phone call with somebody.
Yeah. Wesley Snipes was talking to his agent and a writer overheard it and put it in the movie. And Wesley Snipes like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Why did you put this in?
Which
it's
means,
so cool.
In real life, Wesley Snipes talks in, like, witty one-liners.
Yeah, he talks like Blade.
He does. But it goes on to say here, Karl, that the films have been directed, written, and scored by various filmmakers and crew, while incorporating musical themes from the original series by...
Of course, yeah.
Lalo Schifrin, I think.
Lalo Schifrin. I think it's like an Italian composer or something.
It says, starting in 1996, this film series is like nearly 30 years old.
It's what I mean, but there's, like you said, it's low-key one of the most successful film franchises.
Oh, not low-key, really, when you get to the later ones.
But I mean more about like when you think it's not often, because people always talk about Marvel, DC, James Bond, Star Wars, like Fast and Furious now, like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, like, but just... Because Mission Impossible's just always been there, just doing it.
Well, yeah, it's one of those that we never got that thing where it's like, oh, a Mission Impossible's coming out every year or anything, so it doesn't feel as like repetitive, maybe. It doesn't stick out in people's minds as much as like one of those big franchises, because it has been spread out over nearly 30 years.
It feels like, it's like Grand Theft Auto, isn't it? It's like every 5 years... we're just going to drop a Mission Impossible movie. It's going to be fucking sick. Tom Cruise is going to do something insane. Then he's going to go back into hibernation. And he'll come back. So isn't it like this new one? They've had to split it into 2.
Yeah.
They had so much footage, they just made 2.
Which, I'm never a fan of. I always think that if you can't tell a story in one movie, like, that movie needs cutting down. It's like every time that it's... watching like fucking Harry Potter and the Deadly Hallows Part 1 and 2. It's like if there's 2 movies making up like a duology or 3 movies making up a trilogy to tell an extended story, but each one tells its own story, that's fine. But
like Infinity War and Endgame stuff in there.
You can't tell like an actual story within 2 to 3 hours. Like Infinity War was its own story.
Oh yeah,
Endgame was its own story.
It's a 2-parter, yeah. But...
They were 2-parters, but they both individually had their own start, beginning, and end, like beginning, middle, and end. And I hope that that's what the Dead Reckoning Part 1 and 2 is like. But I hope it just doesn't end on like, oh, it's a cliffhanger and we're halfway through a film.
But it could be a literal cliffhanger. We could literally have just Tom Cruise like because he's done that. He's actually done that. It wouldn't like. I'm wondering if it's because they've never really tried to do a stunt again. To my knowledge, like they always do a new stunt, and I was thinking, have you seen like the latest John Wick?
I haven't watched any John Wick movie.
Okay, well, the latest John Wick, basically, they have like just a do-over of the 3 most popular fight scenes from the previous 3 movies. Like in the first movie, they have a club fight scene, and in the second one, they have like a shootout somewhere. Basically, in the 4th movie, they do all of those scenes again, but better.
Right. Yeah.
So they remake, and basically, like they just do a. It's okay, so we're going to do the same scene, but like another fight in a club that's like 10 minutes long.
What they should do, though, is just somebody, like a new agent in Part 2 is like, oh, hi, I'm like a new person, who are you? And he's like, oh, I'm Ethan Hunt. And he's like, I don't know who that is. And somebody's like, oh, he's done this, but they refilm every single major stunt with Tom Cruise now. And
that's what I'm thinking. But
like a 5-minute scene of just like, we didn't need to put this in the movie, but Tom Cruise wanted to do every stunt again.
Because it's like, as they ever, like I said, I think it's weird that the most iconic shot is probably one of the, not the simplest things to film, but relative to what else has happened in that series. Like, just the coming down from the roof, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Like, the single most iconic shot from that entire series is like the falling all the way down and stopping himself before he hits the floor.
And I would imagine that from Mission Impossible, I think number 4's Ghost Protocol, from there, where they had the Burj Khalifa moment, I think that's what they were trying to get. I don't think they really had those moments in 2 and 3 where they were specifically trying to be like, look at this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think from number 4 onwards, it has been the case of like, we need that one screenshot in the trailer to be like, holy fuck, look at what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that in a dismissive way. They've made absolutely incredible stunts for those movies.
Yeah, but the movies, like, they're more fun to watch as like featurettes. Like, I highly recommend people go onto YouTube and look for the behind the scenes featurettes on those movies where you can see how the stunts were done. Mm-hmm. Like the other one of all the most iconic shots is iconic is the one with the knife going into his eye. Like, that's God, real. Yeah. That's a real knife. That's Tom Cruise's actual eye, and the actor is being told to really try and stab him. It's held by a chain that's anchored to the floor, mm-hmm. and Tom Cruise kept looking at dailies of like, he's not trying to stab me hard enough. And he got annoyed with the actor for not being like. So when you see him struggling to stab him, because like Tom Cruise, I want to be struggling against the
mm-hmm.
weight for real. Otherwise, the audience will know that I'm like, it's not real.
And there's a moment where like he went a little bit too far and nearly like genuinely just stabbed him.
Yeah. Like they have like shots where you can see it, like he touched at his cornea because like he was too close.
Similar to Mission Impossible 3, where they recreate the stunt from Mission Impossible 1, where he goes over the Vatican wall and
mm-hmm.
drops down on the wire and stops, and it's like Tom Cruise's chest actually dropped and hit the floor a little bit.
Yep.
And like if they just made that tiny mistake, they stopped him a little bit too late.
He'd have died.
It's like, well, he hurt himself, and if it was a little bit further, that would have just like fucking ruined him.
It was like the very first one, like the fish tank escape. I've got an article about it on FactFiend about how ridiculous that was.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a great behind-the-scenes bit where you see Tom Cruise talking to the explosives expert. He goes, okay, so when do I start running? He goes, we'll go on 3. So he was like, what does that mean? And like the guy starts getting irate, we'll go on 3. He's like, but I need to know, do you want me to go 1, 2, 3, go? Or am I going on 3? And the guy's like, we'll just go on 3. He's like, but what do you mean by that? And like Tom Cruise's reasoning is, I don't want to die because there's like 8 million tons of water behind this thing. And he's like, I'm literally 1 second. Difference. Yeah. And he's just like, go on 3. And there's like, he's explaining, and like, you can see how exasperated he's getting of like, what do you mean go on 3? 1, 2, 3, go, or go on 3?
If anyone is struggling to understand how difficult a conversation could be like that, have you ever tried playing rock, paper, scissors with someone that differs on the rules from you? Like the 1, 2, 3 go of like rock, paper, scissors kind of thing. It's that conversation, but his life depends on that going the same way.
Yeah. Like it's a split second where they had it timed to the split second. And he's kind of like known for that, isn't he? I think we talked the other day about that thing that leaked of like, oh, here's Tom Cruise being an arsehole yelling at his crew. Then it turns out he was yelling at them for not following COVID protocol.
You hear him saying that you are not following like regulations for safety. Mm-hmm. And it's, how are people turning this round on Tom Cruise? He's pissed that production is being held up on his production of his movie that he's starring in, and he wants to keep people as safe as possible. And it's like, how dare Tom Cruise be a dick to people that are being assholes about safety protocols?
Well, that's always the thing, isn't it? So you always hear about, obviously the Scientology thing always comes up, but if you speak to anyone who's ever met him, they say he's like lovely. Like there are people who've worked on movies that he did 25 years ago. They're like, yeah, I still get Christmas cards from him. He's just genuinely that nice.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit with Simon Pegg. I think he's on like the Graham Norton show. Like, oh, you're filming like a Mission Impossible movie out here right now. And like Simon Pegg says yes, and Tom Cruise asked me to say hello. And if I don't, he'll be annoyed that I didn't say hello to know that he asked after you.
Oh dear. and we'll get on with this a little bit because we haven't actually got through the wiki.
We just talked about Mission Impossible. I like talking about Mission Impossible.
Exactly.
I watched one tonight.
That's why I picked this, because I know we just both like talking about it. So starting in 1996, the films, in parentheses, taking place starting 6 years after the events of the previous TV sequel series.
I love that the TV series is still canon. It's great.
Yeah, it's all canon. And it follows the missions of the IMF's main field team under Hunt's leadership to stop an enemy force and prevent an impending global disaster. And that's pretty much just the plot of every single one.
Something's gone wrong, yeah.
The series focused on Hunt's character, and like with the television series structure, is complemented by an ensemble cast, such as Luther Stickle, played by Ving Rhames, Benji Dunn, played by Simon Pegg, who have recurring roles, and then there's a bunch of people who fill out the rest of the ensemble cast in every movie. I
really like Simon Pegg's character in it.
Yeah, and
I really like the dynamic he has.
Really surprised in Mission Impossible 3 when I saw Simon Pegg. He was like, he's one of my favorite creators in the film industry, and it's like, oh, cool. Simon Pegg's got like a little role in Mission Impossible 3. It's like, no, he's become one of like the main Mission Impossible stars. Yeah,
I really like that dynamic, and apparently Tom Cruise likes it as well.
Clearly,
and, but obviously Simon Pegg's like, oh yeah, it was great at first, but then Tom Cruise keeps putting me in situations where I might die. There's a question: would you feel unsafe in one of those situations if Tom Cruise was there?
Probably not.
Yeah, that's the thing of that he's gonna be okay.
If Tom Cruise is willing to put his life on the line like that in each movie,
and how much he's worth,
I would presume that kind of production is safe because the man running it is the one putting himself on the line and having to rely on it being safe.
I just mean if anything went wrong, I think he'd save you. I think he'd get you. Because he's legit done that. Like he's pulled up, he sees car crashes and stuff, and he runs out and helps the people. Like he tore a woman out of a burning car, drove her to the hospital and paid all the hospital bills on his way to work. Well, he turned up and I was in a car accident. It's like, you were what? It's like, no, there was a car accident and I helped. I got involved with a car accident.
Yeah.
And they didn't believe him until they saw a lady on the news yeah, Tom Cruise paid my hospital bills.
That's the thing, is that he genuinely must have a lot of experience. I'm not saying he's a qualified paramedic or anything, but
he's a qualified pilot.
Yeah, that's the amount of experience and qualifications he'll have by naturally doing all this shit over the space of nearly 30 years. I would feel pretty safe around Tom Cruise.
So I wrote an article about it, of the fact that basically everything you see him do in a movie that he's doing practically, he learns to do, because he says that he has I think a minor form of OCD, and he says the only way that I can ever do something is if I do it perfectly. Mm-hmm. So for example, the film Cocktail, he learned to cocktail flare.
Right, yeah.
To an expert level, and he can still do that 30, 40 years later. When it was the swimming scene, he learned to actually hold his breath for 6.5 minutes, which was a record that I think Kate Winslet broke for the new Avatar movie.
Kate Winslet?
I think so. I want to say Kate Winslet broke it for Avatar.
I didn't even know Kate Winslet was in the new Avatar film.
Maybe she broke it for Avatar, or someone broke it for Avatar. And
I think somebody did break it for Avatar. I can't remember who.
And then
maybe you give that a quick little Google while I
double check. I know as well. The other person who broke it was Joe, that lady in the new Black Panther movie. The right hand man of Namor.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
That one lady who looked really fucking cool.
Yeah,
but she apparently broke the record that Tom Cruise had, and then Kate Winslet broke it.
I've got absolutely no clue what the character names of all of the new characters in Wakanda Forever were. Mm-hmm. I've only seen the movie once, and it's it's been a while.
Yeah, Kate Winslet held her breath for 7 minutes and 15 seconds on the set of Avatar: The Way of Water.
And I vaguely remember it just being a social media post of Tom Cruise suck it.
Yeah,
just fuck you, Tom Cruise. In a friendly way, obviously. The series has been positively received from critics and audiences. It's the 18th highest grossing film series of all time, earning over $3.5 billion worldwide. It is often cited as one of the best action franchises to date. The sixth film, Fallout, released in 2018, was the series' highest grossing entry, And then the 7th and 8th films are Dead Reckoning Part 1 and 2, coming out in July 2023 and June 2024. And I guess that hasn't been updated with like new numbers for the opening of Dead Reckoning or anything yet.
Mm-hmm. But also, I did look up the actress from Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Mabel Cadena. She almost broke Kate Winslet's record, and she was really annoyed that she didn't.
Oh, okay.
Like, she did it for 7 minutes. Kate Winslet did it for 7 minutes 15.
Jesus Christ, though. Still very impressive for 7 minutes.
It is, yeah.
But it's like being the second fastest person behind Usain Bolt, where it's like, damn,
yeah.
I'm like the second fastest sprinter to ever exist, but Usain Bolt's right there.
It's like, oh no, I'm a second only to Kate Winslet.
I've not seen the Avatar sequel yet because Avatar just bores the living daylight out of me, but like didn't even know Kate Winslet was in there.
I tried to watch it 3 times and kept falling asleep. I couldn't tell you who's in it. I couldn't tell you who's in it.
Everyone, the highest grossing movie of all time. And it's I literally could not tell you what happened in the first one, couldn't tell you, anything really about the second one, other than both of them look really pretty.
Yeah, apparently in the cinema it's great. It's like a great visual experience.
Apologies if people can hear there's a light banging on my door go. It's like slamming just a little bit because I tried to stop it, but it's very windy today.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we've got just like I want to go through like just the years of release of these movies.
Okay, so we can get an idea of the gap.
Been going for 27 years, and we had Mission Impossible in 96, Mission Impossible 2 in 2000, Mission Impossible 3 in 2006. Actually, I also just want to make note. Number 1 is director Brian De Palma. Director number 2, John Woo. The third one, directed by J.J. Abrams in his film debut directorial role.
That's a good debut in a Mission Impossible movie.
Because apparently Tom Cruise had watched things like Alias that J.J. Abrams was directing on TV.
Not the TV show, yeah.
And they had problems with getting a director for number 3, and eventually Tom Cruise was like, no, I think this J.J. Abrams guy can do it.
Yeah.
And whether you like J.J. Abrams or not, Mission Impossible 3 is damn good.
It is, yeah. And I just looked at Brian De Palma's name, it stuck out to me. It's like, what has he directed that I really like? And it's Scarface.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what's the film that you've directed that I really like? Obviously, yeah, Scarface.
Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol is Brad Bird, which is the Incredibles director. I know that. He was at Pixar for a while. What a good movie that is. Yeah.
That's the thing, he's really good. He's probably one of the best superhero movies ever made.
Oh, yes. It's the best Fantastic Four movie we ever got, that's for sure. And then all of them since then, so Rogue Nation in 2015, Mission Impossible Fallout in 2018, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning in 2023, and then the Part 2 in 2024. They're all directed by Christopher McQuarrie.
Let's have a look what he's done then.
But yeah, the first thing that comes up here is The Usual Suspects. It's like, Usual Suspects, okay.
Oh, he did Jack Reacher as well, which I really like Jack Reacher.
Oh, so he probably, between Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation, filmed Jack Reacher with Tom Cruise.
It seems like he's just got a really good working relationship with Tom Cruise because all of his movies he's done Mission Impossible, Jack Reacher, the second Jack Reacher, Top Gun Maverick, The Mummy with Tom Cruise,
as well.
Valkyrie with Tom Cruise, but also, weirdly, he also did a Valkyrie documentary.
Oh, right.
So he did the documentary about
of all things to make, out of every one of those movies you just listed to make a documentary about, Valkyrie.
Which is one of my favorite. Yeah, it's one of my favorite films because there's a great interview. Valkyrie, people don't know, it's a film about Staffenberg, I think it was, the guy who tried to kill Hitler by putting a bomb in his briefcase. It's set in World War II and set in Germany. And they were, when in the lead up to production, they were asking of when they cast Tom Cruise, was Tom Cruise going to speak German? It's like, no. So is he going to speak in a German accent? Also no. And they asked, well, it would be distracting if we all spoke with a German accent. And other actors in the film speak with a German accent, but Tom Cruise doesn't. And that leads me to think it's just Tom Cruise couldn't do a German accent.
Yeah.
In that case, why cast him? Like, Michael Fassbender was right there. And
was he
can speak
at the
German.
time, though? Was Michael Fassbender really around when Valkyrie came out?
No, but he looks a lot more like the guy in real life, and he speaks fluent German because he was born there, I think.
Yeah, but I don't think he was a known star at the time.
No, but Tom Cruise was. Well, that's just that. I just love that one of like, there's other people in the film who speak German and with a German accent, and just Tom Cruise speaks. It makes him just look like the world's shittest spy.
Because that's the thing is, like, if you're in that situation where everybody is speaking in an American accent, because then you can, like, that's okay because you can just kind of have that, narrative dissonance in your head of. It's fine. Just imagine that all of them are actually speaking German accents, but for the sake of the movie, they're actually just all talking in Americans to make it, like, more understandable. Whatever. You can kind of brush it away as like, whatever. Imagine they're all just speaking in German accents, but when they all are but Tom Cruise, it's really distracting. Yeah,
like I said, he makes him look like a really bad spy.
Then we'll go to the critical reception. Karl.
I imagine this has been really solid.
Well, do you have a favourite one in your head?
I think the first one.
Or maybe one that you think will have the best Rotten Tomatoes score?
I think Rogue Nation probably has will probably have the highest review, but I really like the first one. The first one's my favourite.
So, surprisingly, obviously Rotten Tomatoes, we know, is just how many percentage of critics gave it 7 out of 10 or more. It's not how good is the movie, but...
yeah, people always call us up on that. It's like, no, we're speaking generally because that's how people understand it. We understand how Rotten Tomatoes works, but you have to speak generally about it.
So, weirdly enough, across Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic, and Cinema Score, it only did okay. So, Rotten Tomatoes, 67%.
Is that the first one?
The first movie, yeah.
I figured it'd be there.
Metacritic is 59 after 29 reviews, so 59 out of 100 for the average score.
I wonder what else came out that year then, because I just remember Mission Impossible's been a really solid movie. Like, you got a sequel 4 years later.
Yeah, I would have imagined that the critical reception was pretty great for it, but obviously I was 4 at the time, so I can't exactly speak for what the critics were saying, but I would have imagined.
It's just one of those things where,
it's such an iconic movie now.
Yeah, I just figured it must have got a good... I've always liked it.
Yeah, and then Cinema Score gave it a B+, which is, definitely better than the 59 on Metacritic.
Okay, so just to get an idea of the film landscape at the time, other films released that year, Mars Attacks. Mars Attacks. I love Mars Attacks. I know it gets bad reviews, I think.
It's a cult classic, isn't it? You've got to be in the right mindset.
Happy Gilmore, The Nutty Professor, Jerry Maguire, so another Tom Cruise movie as well. Dragonheart, Independence Day. And I'd argue Mission Impossible is a way better action movie than Independence Day.
Clearly, a banger of a year for movies was 96. Just
it doesn't
The
seem to
Nutty Professor.
There's a couple of decent ones. Twister came out. I quite like Twister. There's Jack, which is one of the most embarrassing Robin Williams movies, where he's just playing a kid, adult, and it's really awkward to watch.
So I will say as well that I'll go through the Metacritic because it gives you a better idea, whereas the Rotten Tomatoes just becomes After Ghost Protocol is 90%. Because that it's hard to argue that those movies aren't just really solid action films. Yeah,
I absolutely agree.
But then Mission Impossible 2 also has a Metacritic of 59 out of 100. Mission Impossible 3 got a 66, and I imagine that entire improvement is just because they had an incredible villain in that, because they had Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Oh, I think Karl's died on me. Okay, Karl just cut out for a second. I was saying, Karl, that Philip Seymour Hoffman was the villain in Mission Impossible 3.
It's hard to fault any performance by Mr. Hoffman. And I did do another double check there, and I realised, maybe Mission Impossible is not even my favourite action movie that came out that year, because that's the year that Eraser came out. And Eraser is one of the most forgotten Arnold Schwarzenegger action movies, but I really like it.
I don't know what it is at all.
It's just it's the one where Arnold Schwarzenegger fights a CGI crocodile. It also has The Rock, which I contend is Michael Bay's best movie.
Oh, okay.
It's Nicolas Cage fighting Sean Connery.
Because Hollywood is so broken right now, I thought you meant a Razor the movie had Dwayne The Rock Johnson in it. And I was like, wait, that's a bit early for The Rock. Like, he was only just starting to come up in WWE at that moment.
Also, Space Jam came out that year as well.
Well, best movie of the year.
There we go, yeah. So it's a pretty good movie. We made fun of it. No, some pretty solid movies came out in 1996. At least, in terms of cult classics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we get a bit of a bump again on Metacritic for Ghost Protocol going to 73, Rogue Nation to 75, and then Fallout got 86 on Metacritic, and Dead Reckoning Part 1 got an 81. So even for just dumb action flick kind of movies, the latest two have got very, very good reviews.
I think just the cinematography just got better as well.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise has always really embraced new filmmaking techniques and cameras and stuff like that. So I can see why. Because they're just really good looking movies.
Oh yeah, incredible spectacle movies. And yeah, I just think maybe my favourite is still Mission Impossible 3 just because of Philip Seymour Hoffman's performance, but it's hard to deny that they just keep getting better and better in terms of, as you say, cinematography, pure spectacle and action, and the fact that I think it was number 4, as I say, had Jeremy Renner in it as if Tom Cruise is too old to do this now, back in 2011, then we'll get Jeremy Renner, who's just coming in with the Avengers, as his canonical replacement, and that's why Jeremy Renner was weirdly introduced as this new action guy in that movie.
Remember, they really tried to push Jeremy Renner as an action dude for a bit, didn't they?
Yeah, he was Jason Bourne at the same time, and obviously he's Hawkeye. But yeah, it's just weird looking back at that now, a dozen years later, going, they really had doubts halfway through this series that think Tom Cruise has probably had enough of this now.
I think he's out of it, yeah.
Cut to 2023 where he's jumping off a mountain yeah! Let's go.
Do you know when they joke about Fast and Furious going to space and then they went to space?
Mm-hmm.
When are we going to get Tom? Cause that's the thing that was that's CGI. Tom Cruise might actually go to space. We might get a Mission Impossible movie where Tom Cruise goes to space. Do you when Brian Baumgartner did the space jump? How much do you think Tom Cruise has been getting someone annoying producers to do that?
Well, that was what I was thinking in my head, is that he does the jump from Mission Impossible 1 where he nearly hits the floor, but he does it from lower orbit.
He might. He's crazy enough to do it.
But he's just got that 2mm just give on the floor. It's oh no. Yeah. They fucked it up when they were doing it from a roof. What can they do if they're doing it from lower orbit?
So that's what more could they possibly do to top what they've done? And then I said that about John Wick, and I mentioned it, you're not seeing it, but yeah, they have in the fourth one, there is a 15-minute one-shot fight scene of John Wick shooting people up a flight of stairs. And that's the thing, this fight, it's incredible when he gets to the top, and then he gets kicked down all the way to the bottom, and he does it again.
That's what I mean. One, I do want to watch all the John Wick movies. Don't come at me in the comments. I do have them on the list at some point, but that out of context, I've seen that of just he just goes, he just keeps rolling.
Yeah, that's the thing, because
stops rolling.
I watched it and I went, holy shit, this might be the best shot action sequence I've ever seen. And then they kick into the bottom of the stairs and they do it again with more choreography. It's holy shit.
But the kicking down the stairs without the build up looked so just
painful,
bad and comical, because is that why is he rolling an extra 8 foot than he needs to down this flight of stairs to go down the next flight of stairs? You didn't need to get down the next 3 flights of stairs. You were fine.
They know how funny it is as well, because the official John Wick YouTube channel released it a 10-hour cut. And it's just called John Wick falling down the stairs for 10 hours.
At least they can make fun of themselves.
Yeah, because they know, but it's just that thing of he does the entire thing and he falls down the stairs and has to do it again. I was like, holy shit! It's they have a fight scene in the what's it called? That Arc? Is it the Arc de Triomphe?
The Arc de Triomphe, yeah.
What do you know? The traffic going around. There's a fight scene in that with the traffic still going. and just like people keep getting hit by cars. And it's just 10 minutes of John Wick shooting people as they get hit by cars. Like, people are ping-ponging between cars and John Wick's getting, like, style... You can almost see, like, the time crisis shit popping up on screen. It is insane, and apparently they're making another one.
God. I mean,
it's like...
I want that, but in, like, the original The Raid, where the first half was just him getting up the building, and then they kick him back down, and you do The Raid again.
I still, every now and again, think about that bit in The Raid where that guy jumps, someone does a legit spawn kill in real life. Like, where the guy drops into the room and the police officer tackles him before his feet even touch the floor, and then just throws him out the window. It's just like, I'm pretty sure the guy's feet don't even land before someone tackles him. Or the one where the guy gets tackled and he has the gun and just shoots him at point blank range.
Yeah.
God, those films are so... I can't believe they never made a third one.
Go watch The Raid 1 and 2, everyone.
How did they... Like, there was a third one that I don't think we can top it. It's like they need to come back and make another one.
But have John Wick in it.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just to end...
Yeah.
I guess we've mentioned a couple of the stunts already in that, but is there one that you think like is just your favourite? Not necessarily the most impressive, but just your favourite to watch?
The one that I really like, I think, is Rogue Nation with the wall. Do you like the projected wall that goes forward? I really like that visual, because that's like a really interesting set piece. And I think that's a really fun scene.
Yeah,
because it's one of those things where you look at it, and I kind of like watching it and trying to spot the seams. And then obviously you have the joke where like Simon Pegg looks into it, you have the giant Simon Pegg face. How about you?
I think my favourite that I've seen, I haven't watched like the second to last one or anything, but apart from, Mission Impossible 3 where he kills himself and like resurrects himself, apart from that, at the end he's just like, kill me. I'd probably say the Burj Khalifa is my favourite stunt so far. Like
climbing with like the sticky gloves.
With the sticky gloves. A, just gives a bit of Spider-Man vibes, but B, just the moment when one of them gives.
Yeah.
And he like falls onto one hand, and it's just Tom Cruise, like one hand stuck to this building. It's like, oh my God.
Did you ever see like that skyscraper movie where The Rock did that? And he does it by putting duct tape on his hands. And that's the movie where I think The Rock's character has like a prosthetic leg for some reason, and he has to use the prosthetic leg to climb, and he's climbing with his fake leg. But yeah, he just straps a bunch of like duct tape to his hands and climbs up a skyscraper.
Of course, yeah. Perfect. But yeah, I do like, as I say, some of the James Bond-ness of the fact that he's got like a weird gadget for once, and it's not just a mask. And the masks are awesome, but
there's plenty of like good gadgets. I like the gum scene as well.
I
go with the gum. Where no, it's the gum where you squish the gum together. It's the fish tank one where you squish it together and you throw it, and it like turns to a bomb.
Yeah, I was just saying for the sake of the audience, like just saying, oh, the gum. I was like, yeah.
Oh yeah. Right, wait, it's the plastic explosive gum.
But yeah, that has been me talking for a bit too long about Mission Impossible.
It's fine. The movies are 200 minutes long now. So
well, the movies are apparently 400 minutes long because there are 2-parters now. So yeah, I guess we could take a quick minute break where I try and fix this fucking door that's pissing me off.
Yeah, no problem. And I will also return momentarily. So, Lucas, we have returned. And before we move on to my wiki entry, we got any housekeeping for this week?
I don't think we have any specific housekeeping. Oh, no, we do. We have audio versions live now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just, I think it was like literally last week when people were commenting on the video, like, when are we getting audio versions? Is there an audio version for this? Or, fine, I'll just do it. And I was up to like 4 o'clock in the morning, just like, if this is what you want, like, fine. I had other things to do, but yeah, sure, just please stop asking about it in the comments. Now we have audio versions. We are live, I know, for definite on like Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We have an RSS feed. I think we're still waiting on approval from Google Podcasts, but for the most part, nearly anywhere you can find us, we will have the Wiki Weekdays podcast. You can just search for that, and yeah, I can finally rest from comments being like, "Where's the audio version?"
There's going to be someone who still asks though. Not going to realise, but yes, you can find that link below, or if you listen to it already, hello. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for making it all worthwhile. We don't really get analytics on those, do we? I guess you do.
You can't tell that I'm waving, but I'm waving.
Yeah, you can wave into the microphone to slap it a few times, I suppose. And without further ado, Luke, are you ready to cover my wiki entry for this week?
I am, and hopefully my door stops annoying me now, because the biggest problem with that door is that I hang all of my gaming controllers on the back of it, so just it moving a little bit is like doof, doof. I'm like, God damn it.
It's not great.
Karl, what have you brought for us this week?
Okay, so today we are covering the wiki entry on the Type 33 Guided Munitions Launcher, aka the Needler.
Okay, I was like,
in your head then you're like, what?
It's like, last week you said you didn't want to talk about fucking nukes. Why are we talking about missiles? It's like, no, okay, it's the Needler.
So, as always, a link to the wiki we're referring to can be found below. We're on the Halo Alpha wiki, and we're covering the Needler. And I think the Needler might be my favourite fictional gun.
I was about to say, without even thinking, top 10 guns in video games.
Just without a doubt. And my main reasoning is, I really don't like how, regardless of how futuristic or crazy or wild a video game, with shooter elements in is, they'll always just have a gun. It will be just it's roughly, and I hate this word, I always pronounce analogous to something we have in our world. They always have a pistol, a sniper rifle, a machine gun. But this is a gun that feels truly alien.
They're the energy shotgun. They're the energy rifle.
And that's what you get. Yeah, you get it's futuristic, but it ultimately functions roughly the same as there'll be a real world analog for it. Whereas the Needler, I think it feels truly alien, and it is one of it's an alien weapon that actually looks like an alien piece. It's just, what is it? How does this work? And I love that in universe, no fucker knows.
Yeah, and I think similar to a couple of other Halo weapons that then preceded the Needler, like the Spartan laser.
Mm-hmm.
It's we haven't really got anything equivalent in real life, and there's I think they introduced a rail gun in Halo 4, but I don't like the Promethean design of the weapons as much. But
even the Promethean weapons, it's it's a Promethean pistol. Oh, it fires shards of hard. Yeah, it fires shards of hard light, but it works like a regular gun, and you can see that because the Halo series has human weaponry and alien weaponry. And I've always thought that the Needler is one of the most inspired weapon designs in that game, if not the genre, because I can't think of any other gun from any other game or piece of media that feels as alien as that one.
Yeah, and obviously you can talk about each individual game and how effective the Needler is in each one, but in terms of just uniqueness, design, how iconic the look is, how iconic, everyone remembers the Needler. There are a lot of Halo weapons that in my head I'm like, well, there was that plasma grenade launcher thing, but I'm like...
They never topped it.
The Needler is just the one. And I'd say the Spartan laser comes close, but everyone remembers the Needler.
And that's the reason it stands out. And I said I can't think of any other gun in... you play Destiny, right? A lot of Destiny, which is a spiritual successor to the Halo series. Is there any gun in Destiny that feels as weird or alien or as distinct as the Needler?
There's quite a few exotic weapons that I'd say feel as distinct. For one of the ones I'm thinking in terms of just more uniqueness, there's one where it's it's a rocket launcher, but instead of shooting a rocket, you shoot a void projectile into the sky. It then bursts open and hovers down and then homes in on enemies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that stuff like that feels pretty unique, and you do get a lot in Destiny where it's just here's a fire hand cannon.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I feel the closest maybe you get is the Borderlands series, but none of those guns feel like something that's grounded. And I know I'm talking about an alien gun, but like, it's grounded to the universe in which it exists. Whereas Borderlands series is like, oh, we've got walking laser guns because lol, walking laser guns. And they don't feel congruous with the world in which they exist. Mm-hmm. Whereas like the Needler 100% does. We're about to discuss. So, before we talk about the Needler, we have a quote here from an anonymous serviceman in the Halo universe. It's about as close to a fire and forget small arm as we're likely to ever see, and it ain't ours. This is why we're losing. And it's like, yeah. Because the fact that it homes in. It's so scary.
That also brings up one of the worst feeling things in all of Halo that contradicts the lore, is that because of gameplay balance, most of the Covenant weapons are maybe as good, if not worse, than just the human equivalent.
Yeah, there is, and there's no human equivalent to the Needler, thankfully. So the Needler is always, and that's one of the other reasons I enjoy it, of like the assault rifle, the plasma rifle. The shotgun, you have like the plasma pistol, I guess, because that's like got the instant burst damage. Like the rocket launcher, you have the fuel rod cannon. It's one of the few weapons where there is no human equivalent, so that's what I mean. It feels truly alien.
But like that thing is, they talk about how incredible all of this alien weaponry is.
We'll cover that, no doubt.
And then like the Magnum is just better than all of it.
And that's the thing that makes the game. That's one of the reasons why like Halo is so frustrating as a fan of the series. Of there's so many cool things in that universe, but as someone who played the multiplayer a lot, the best weapon in the game is the battle rifle, and that's a shame. Like the cool alien gun sucks ass. The thing that should be the most fun to play with doesn't really work. But anyway, so the Type 33 guided munitions launcher, more commonly known as the Needler, is a Covenant anti-infantry weapon. It's commonly used by the Sangheili, the Ungoi, Skirmishers, the Yanmei, and the Kigyar. Oh, the Kigyar are just the, what are they called now? And they're the cool guys with the shields.
The Jackals.
The Jackals, that's it, yeah.
It's funny because this might be one of the only times where Karl doesn't sit there and struggle with pronunciation, because you can tell how much Halo he's played.
Yeah, I've read all the novels and stuff as well. So we have here, Manufacturer, the Sacred Promissory. Oh, and I just think everything in Halo sounds so fucking cool.
Just like all of the ship names and stuff, like the fucking Pillar of Autumn.
What's like that thing is though? Is Pillar of Autumn the strongest one, or is it just what is it like? Prophet's Regret.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like even just the names of shit in their universe, like all the Covenant ships are named after like spirits and ghosts. Like one's literally called the Spirit and a Ghost, or the Phantom. It's like when a Phantom rocks up, it's like holy shit. And just and it's like ammunition type or explosive crystalline shards, fire mode automatic, accuracy high. Of course it fucking is. It homes in.
The accuracy is high on everything but elites, because when the elites do the dodge roll, just every single shard misses.
I think it's one of the most frustrating things about Halo is when you give a Needler to like your teammates and they go, pew, pew, and they fire like one needle, and it's like, the only time I've ever seen that work is when I got like a group of like 6 Marines, or in the newest one, Halo 5. You can get like a legendary super. Yeah, Halo Infinite, sorry. You get a legendary super needler by like going and hunting down a special unit. And I just respawned that 5 times and gave it to like 5 Marines and put them in the back of a Warthog. And just my Warthog's like just there's like you go over the cliff in your Warthog and just the cloud.
I still think one of my favourite things is driving being on the back of a Warthog where you've got an AI driver and then an AI teammate with a rocket launcher.
Oh yeah, they're amazing.
And it's the combo in, especially like Halo 3 when the AI was not very good.
But their aim was immaculate, yeah.
The aim was great, but the amount of times where it's like, oh, the AI driver is driving off a ramp or a ledge or something, and then because the AI is locked in on a target, it will shoot. But then the Warthog's already going over the crest, so it just shoots the wall that's right next to you, fires your Warthog across the room. Like, it's such a dreadful combo that it makes for such an interesting time.
I still think that one of the coolest things I've ever seen in that game is like, I had that, and it was like, just the random Warthog going around in like one of the levels in Halo 3. And it drove, like, it was getting chased by like, what are they called now? The flying ones. Banshee. Getting chased by a Banshee, and like it drove off the edge of a cliff. But the guy in it with a rocket launcher shot a rocket launcher straight up and it hit the Banshee. And it's just like he went and hit it in the Banshee. Explodes. Like, oh my god, this guy's amazing. But,
I still just think moments like that were some of the best moments. And even when we played Halo 3 a couple of years ago, co-op, for doing a Let's Play series, it was just, even now, that is some of the most fun I've had playing like a multiplayer game.
It's so fun, yeah. It's because it's so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, like the design, for anyone who's not familiar with the Needler is one of the few Covenant weapons which isn't based on reverse-engineered Forerunner technology. The Needler's top plate has 14 holes from which the needlers protrude. When the trigger is pulled, the needle is fed from the top into the barrel and fired, and that's why it's fucking terrifying. It doesn't fire bullets, it doesn't fire plasma, it just fires a really sharp needle of glass that flies. And the thing as well, what makes it scary for me is that it goes really slow. So I think if you look at a Needler, it looks like it fires just fast enough where you could think you'd outrun it, but you wouldn't. So I'm just imagining if it existed in the real world, you'd be running away and it'd be catching up. And that's why I think it's so scary. Because if it went like instantaneously, it wouldn't be as like cool in my eyes. But because it goes so slow and you can see it coming, and like when someone else has one, just fires, and you see the cloud of needles. He's like, well, I'm dead. But you know that you're dead.
But the interesting thing is that they go so slow that even like a grunt that's running away might get, it might dodge one or two while it's running around a corner. Like, that's how slow the needles are, but as you say, it just makes it slightly more terrifying, if nothing else.
Yeah. And it says that a single needle detonation does not necessarily cause significant damage. However, if enough needles make it into their target at once, the needle, and this is why I think it's so awesome, will super combine and synchronize their explosion for massive damage, usually an instant kill. And it's theoretically one of the strongest weapons in the game, so you can just insta-kill anything.
But how frustrating is it when you get killed as you've got all of the needles, bar like one in them?
Yeah, I do like them.
Just about to die, but instead you just see them warning away, and like critical health is like ping, ping, ping.
And just never forget when they gave the ability to have two of them, like, this is too much.
It's never enough.
I just remember when we had an entire team of people using needlers in like Halo 2, and it's unstoppable. Anyway, ammunition. Razor-sharp crystalline projectiles are fired from this elaborately designed Covenant weapon. It is widely believed that these needles use heat or an organic signature to home in on targets, and may have some relation to the plasma grenade, which also react to living tissue. And it doesn't, but they don't know, and this is why I love it. Like, they don't know. In universe, they study the shit out of this thing, and they don't know how it works. And they say the same thing with like the plasma weapons of like, we understand how to use them, but we don't know how they are powered. But the Covenant do, and they won't tell us, even after you have Halo 3 where they team up, and it's like the Covenant, like, we're not going to tell you how you recharge them. Because as soon as you understand that, you can make your own, and then we're fucked.
Even like the Arbiter is just like, well, I'm not going to tell you how to make an energy sword, Chief. It's not happening. Yeah, it's like the needles appear to have some sort of identify friend or foe function, as they will home in on hostile targets, but not allies of the wielder. It is unclear how this works. And that's again, and the Covenant, we're not going to why would we tell you how that works? And I do think the Needler is one of those things where I don't get why they didn't make more weapons based on it, because they put like the needle rifle in one game. And then I think in like Halo Wars, you can get a giant needler as like a vehicle edition. And you have like, and I thought like they have a scarab that fires needles. And I was like, why is that not in Halo? Why is that not in the base game? Like a needle grenade. It's such a cool concept. I don't understand why they didn't double down on it. Not needler grenades, right?
Yeah, why was there not a needle grenade?
And just, imagine just the damage you could do, as you say, if you get a bunch of scarabs with giant versions of needlers.
Well, they have like a needle shooting like wraith in one of the RTS games, and it's fucking horrifying. Like they have like a ship that fires it. It's a flying ship that fires needles at you. That home in, remember. So we have here. So the needles cause two types of damage: penetration, injuries that are caused by the impacts of the crystalline needles, and explosive. And they do have like behind, like in universe material, they talk about like soldiers getting hit by these things, like one shot instantly incapacitated a soldier, because it just, if you think about it, like, in the game it hits Master Chief and it bounces off. Like in the books they talk about how like one needle, like imagine folks at home, like a butcher's knife hitting you in the leg and then exploding. You're not going to walk that shit off.
Yeah, because those needles, when they penetrate, they are massive, even on someone like Master Chief, who's like 8 foot tall or whatever. It's like, yeah, those things are giant, and just getting stabbed by one must really fucking hurt.
Yeah, and that's what they talk about in the extra universe material. It's like you have that great, probably the best bit of Halo media ever produced. That's not one of the games. That trailer made by Neil Blomkamp. Remember that?
Yeah.
Like the live action Halo 3 trailer that never went anywhere. And it was made by Neil Blomkamp for, I think, like $50,000. And it's crazy.
Was the kind of original kind of reason why there was a pitch for him doing the Halo movie.
Yeah, or like, because he was bait, and that's how he went on to do like District 9. But it's one of the best. It looks in that they show like someone getting hit by like the brute spiker.
Oh yeah,
which fires like, if people don't know, like superheated bolts. Basically, it's a nail gun that fires like nails that are already on fire. And they show you a soldier getting hit by one, and he's just down for the count instantaneously. Because it's like, yeah, that would be terrifying. It's like it's basically firing like a railroad spike that's like superheated to 1,000 degrees. And it says here, so there are advantages to the weapon, and it just says it that they home in. And this is one of my favourite things. I kind of wish, again, this is why I wish there was more like a weapon subtype based on it. They ricochet. And I love that. I love that they ricochet. And one of the things I think I meant when I first picked one up in the first Halo game was like shooting them at shields and just watching them bounce around the room. Because it's just really cool, because you can like, there's some levels where you can like shoot it round corners. And I always know that they didn't double down on that as a tactic of like, do you know, like those portable shields you can get? Like the fact that you can't get those, because what they do in the first game is they get stuck in the shield for like a split second and then bounce out twice as fast. And I was like, what? Because it reminds me a little bit, have you ever played Unreal Tournament?
Bits, yeah, not much, but a little bit.
Are you feeling like the shock rifle, like how that works?
Not overly, no.
So the shock rifle, it fires like the big ball of energy, and then you shoot it with a secondary fire, and it explodes.
Okay.
And I really like that idea of, to maximise the potential of this weapon, you've got to be really good. Because I think the initial shot does pretty decent damage, and the ball does pretty decent damage, but combined, unstoppable. And I always thought they should do a system like that with the Needler, of like making them home in more when they ricochet. Or like maybe do some sort of thing of like build the weapons design around ricocheting them.
That would be cool, yeah.
Or like, like bubble shield, like, going to a bubble shield and firing it fires everywhere. It's like, but they've kept its design pretty basic. And in fact, they've actually made it simpler and less alien as the series has gone on, because they've tried to make it more competitive. And you don't want a gun that can do something random, because you want to minimize any randomness in a competitive game, which kind of sucks.
It does a bit, yeah.
And the disadvantages are that it doesn't work against armoured targets such as vehicles, and due to their size, the crystalline projectiles are slow and lose velocity very quickly. So it has a limited range.
What happens when do they just blow up if they start travelling too slowly?
They do, yeah. They just shatter in the air.
Yeah.
And you can shoot them into the ground, and after a few seconds they just shatter, but obviously it's the ground.
I think that would have been a cool, like, as you say, that you mentioned secondary fires, is you were able to kind of place needles into a wall and then press like a secondary fire to detonate them.
I always thought they should, yeah. I always thought that Halo as a series, they kept trying to make it like Call of Duty. It's like, don't make it like Call of Duty, make it like Unreal Tournament and give all the weapons secondary fire. And that's how you differentiate, because like you said earlier, like Covenant weapons always suck. And usually they're not hit scan. And hit scan, people don't know. Like video game terminology is like, it's just when you pull the trigger of a gun in a game, does the projectile it fires exist? Or does the person just instantly take damage? So hit scan means that if you are pointing the gun, it just fires out basically a laser beam, and anything in the way will take damage. So you'll instantaneously hit your opponent.
Yeah, it's not like something where it's a projectile weapon like the Needler, where the projectile physically has
to travel.
It has an element in space that has to travel towards the target and hit the target. It's just when you are aiming, are they in your reticle? Yes, then it hit.
Yeah.
And that's what hit scan is.
And almost every single human weapon in Halo is hit scan, bar a couple like the rocket launcher, and I think like maybe a couple others, but all the alien weaponry,
like grenade
has
launchers as well and stuff.
Yeah. All the alien weaponry, all the Covenant stuff has a physical projectile, which usually does less damage. That's why I thought, the easiest way to do this is give them secondary fire. Like you said, like give them a shock rifle thing or the needler. Make it fire a bunch of needles and like make them not equivalent in damage, but give them like weird utility. That makes them like, human guns, powerful, fire in a straight line. Alien stuff though, you could have weird like damage. You could have them like do damage over time, or which the needlers kind of do, I guess. The super combine's a good start. Have them home in, have them like stick to armor. I always thought they could do more with the guns.
One of the guns that I can think of that essentially does have secondary fire is the plasma pistol, and the plasma pistol is a godlike weapon because of that secondary fire mode.
Yeah, like it's
because it has the EMP blast,
the overcharge. Yeah, that can disable vehicles, and I thought they should do that with more of the Covenant weapons. Like you said, like the needle, get a secondary fire. Like I always thought as well, when you melee with it, it should be a one-hit kill.
So you should take the needler, turn it upside down, and bash them on the head.
I always got annoyed that there was never like an option to hit them with the other side and just stick all the needles in them as an instant kill, but you lose all your ammo.
Because they have got weapons in that game with melee modifiers, like the spiker, because it has blades on the bottom.
Yeah,
when you melee with the spiker, it does a bit more damage, and just do that with the needler, or as you say, you do like a super melee with it, where it uses up ammo to blow them up.
I just always thought that's the path they should have taken. They shouldn't have tried to make it more like Call of Duty. They should have made it more like Unreal Tournament. And they should have given all the weapons secondary fire.
But Karl, guess which one makes a lot more money?
Yeah,
guess which one still has games coming out?
And it talks about as well like all the different changes. And the thing is though, like the only change I wanted is just I want different coloured needles. That's all I'd want. And do you know what you could do? Different coloured needles act differently. Just have like some fly straight and do more damage or what have you, and they never did that. It's just no.
And that's one of the potential problems with having all those secondary fire modes is that if you make a weapon do too much, like it's hard to in terms of competitiveness tell what your opponent's going to do. And maybe if you had different types of needlers where like a blue one was a trap needler.
Even just between games.
Yeah, a purple one was a melee needler, and it gives that information across to your opponent of what you're probably going to do with that weapon still. And that's why the silhouettes of so many of the Halo weapons are so distinctive, and
so you can tell at a distance and
stuff. So that it's just good game design for you to be able to tell what your opponent has weaponry-wise before they've killed you with it. Yeah.
Like, alternate, that'd be the alternate fire, maybe. The alternate fire changes the colour. So it's just, I really like the weapon. It's just a shame that it's always been useful, but I think all the alien stuff is way cooler, and the fact that it's always been on paper, objectively, numerically worse from a competitive standpoint always frustrated me. And that's why the needler always stood out to me. Like, there is no human weapon equivalent, and therefore it stands out on its own.
And we are talking mostly about, the weaponry weapons, like, there's a couple of power weapons like the energy sword and the gravity hammer where it's like, no, they are just power weapons that you go for on the map. But still, someone who's good with a sniper rifle, just way better than you.
Yeah.
They're going to kill you way before you kill them.
Yeah. And the only reason like the Covenant equivalent even works is it's hit scan. It's the only Covenant weapon that's hit scan, isn't it? The beam rifle. Anyway, would you like to hear some UNSC remarks about the Needler?
Hell yeah.
That's what I love, like when like the scientists in the Halo universe like testing, like, what the fuck is this thing? I don't know how it works, but the needles can follow you if they can see you.
That's more terrifying.
And they say see in quotes. It's like, we don't know how it works, but if you're behind cover, the needles won't get you. But if you are in the open and visible, they will. And that's, I mean, it's so cool that they don't know how it works.
Just the idea that, like, is it the weapon? Is it the needles that can see you? Like, what is it? Just
exactly. Anything stuck with enough needles will blow sky high, and if a foxtrot is unlucky enough to be carrying grenades, those will go off too. And I love that as well, because that's another tactic of you can blow up grenades with it, so you can cause like combined like multiple explosions with it. It's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. I caught 3 in the leg as I was diving behind a wall. They lodged right where the greave meets the boot. When they went off, it damn near broke my ankle and flung little splinters of glass or crystal, whatever the hell they are, all up my left side. The corpsman was pulling the shards out of me for the better part of 2 hours.
That's rough.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though, when it shatters, it not only shatters in the wound, then it fires like, imagine like now, just like a glass being flung into your face. It's terrifying. It's a terrifying weapon.
one half of it explodes like a regular bullet inside your body to do more damage, and then the other half is still a glass grenade blowing up in your face.
Yeah, imagine it's like, in addition to being stabbed, they also just threw a light bulb at your face. Speaking of this, luckily, and listen to me, luckily, the needles only detonate when they're embedded in living tissue. Now that's lucky because it's not going to blow a hole in the wall you're hiding behind or tear the tyres off the vehicle you try to escape in.
That would be a cool tactic, though. Just getting them in the tyres.
The first order of business when dealing with a hostile armed with the needler is finding cover. Second order of business is killing the foxtrot with the needler. That's the thing. These things are terrifying.
The idea that the first thing you do is run away.
Yeah. That's what I mean. In universe, it's terrifying. In the game, it's like, I guess it's kind of cool. If you get the drop on someone, you're probably going to get the kill with a super combine. But would you like to hear some trivia to end on about Mr. Needles?
Hell yeah.
So in Halo Combat Evolved, the needler is much larger and heavier than in other Halo games. And that's why I think it's the best, the needler's looks, because it looks really alien, because it's fucking massive. You pick it up, you give it to people, and it's like, what is this? And I guess that does kind of make sense how, like, in the first couple games, they only fire one needle at a time, because they don't know how it works.
And that's what always intrigues me about the Halo universes, because you always see the weaponry through the eyes of Master Chief, but then there's scenes where, like, somebody will put their sniper rifle next to a regular human, and it's just bigger than the human itself, because they're, like, these giant 50 cal snipers. It's
a massive weakness of the series, and it's one that I don't think they've ever really tried to fix, which is all the weaponry is designed to be held by the player, who, as you said, Master Chief, is 7.5 feet tall. So you don't want it looking stupid and tiny in his hands, but the side effect of that is when you see humans holding, like, the assault rifle, it doesn't make sense. It's like the assault rifle was built for humans, not Master Chief. Well, obviously they don't want the gun looking like a toy in his hands, so it's built for him, designed for him. But in universe, it makes sense. It's like, why is the assault rifle that every, like, rifleman uses 4 times bigger than they can, like, wield? Why is the pistol the size of, like, everyone's head? It says here that in Halo 2, there is a lone sentinel that fires needler rounds. That's terrifying. It's a little flying needler. Apparently it drops a needler when destroyed.
I don't remember that.
It must be like, maybe it's a glitch. In Halo 3, if you look at your shadow while holding a needler, regardless of how many needles are protruding at the top, there will never be any needles visible in the shadow. And that makes sense. It's crystal. The light will just go through.
I mean, it should technically make some level of light distortion or something, but that's just, game development.
It says here that the needler is Fleet Master Voronar Mantakri's next to trademark weapon, the other being the energy sword.
Yes.
And it says that there are customized heavy needlers that are able to strike aircraft and vehicles. And the way they work is they're really good because they home in on the ships, because they home in on the people inside. So obviously, like, they don't target organic, they don't target, like, metal, but they target the person inside, so they'll follow the ship around.
That is terrifying. All I can imagine is that these needles are, like, the size of people.
It says that in other media, the needlers are depicted as being significantly more powerful than their in-game counterparts, with one needle sufficient to cause debilitating pain and a state of shock.
But that would not be fun to play against.
Yeah. In Halo Combat Evolved, on the 343 Guilty Spark and Halo 2 Vista maps, they're the only levels in any Halo game to have needler ammunition outside of the needler. It's the only time you ever see it, 'cause normally you just pick it up from the needler itself. And it says that the needler ammunition is colloquially referred to as Blamite by Bungie.
So here goes. Kablam, I guess.
Yeah, I also love as well, I love how you reload it, where you just go ka-ching, and all the needles pop out. Like, it's like ka-ting! Here we go. Dr. Halsey mentioned in one of her journals that the needler has completely baffled UNSC scientists. It has no internal moving parts in its firing mechanism, and therefore, the weapon is completely impossible to reverse engineer. It has no internal moving parts.
There's just ammunition inside, and that's it.
They just don't know how it works. That's what I mean. That's why I love it. It's like they just don't know what it does.
That would be terrifying to figure out how this machine works. There's no parts inside. Like, how are we meant to figure out what it does? There's nothing.
Let's say they crack it open, it doesn't move. They don't know what it does.
I do like the idea that there's some kind of just sentient creature inside the needler then.
Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at the picture of the ammo, and it's just a big crystal.
It is?
Just a big crystal. And that's the thing as well. I always thought, why was there never a level that has, like, the crystals that base the needler ammo in as, like, a stage hazard? Yeah. Why is there not a level in the multiplayer that has, like, needler crystals? As, like, do we still like explosive barrels? Have needler crystals that explode into, like, big clouds of needles? Or something like that. But no, that is the Type 33 guided munitions launcher, a.k.a. Mr. Needly. I fucking love the Needler.
Is
it's the coolest thing in Halo.
33 so it can be like the N33 Leet Speak Needler?
No, it just says that like most weapons are named for just when they were discovered by humans. So it's called Type 33 because it's the 33rd Covenant weaponry that humans like encountered and then catalogued. So it's like, for example,
I wasn't sure if it was like someone had spelled it like N33DLER.
No, it's nothing like that. Like, for example, the plasma pistol's called like the Type 25.
Okay.
So it's just basically, it's just what number did we find it? And it's like, yeah, the needle's like one of the 33rd weapons they encounter. It's just, I've said it before. If someone can like direct me to one, I'd love to have a look at it. And it is, I know people get like a recreation of like a long claw from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. Like,
as a Destiny fan, they've sold quite a few of the like exotic hand cannons and stuff as replicas.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, cool, but where's my needler?
Mm-hmm.
I want, like, is there someone out there who's made, like, someone on Etsy must have, surely, a needler with, like, actual quartz crystals in it? So I think if I had one of them, I'll put it in, like, a glass case in my house with lights on it. I think that'll look really fucking cool.
I don't think anyone's made them with, like, proper crystals, but I've definitely seen people have, like, 3D printed ones with little, like, LED plastic needles coming out.
Needler Etsy. There's got to be someone who's made, like, a needler, aren't there, right? Oh, yeah, someone else. Yeah, there's someone on Etsy who's made one. But it's like it's got paper crystals in it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's out of stock. It's a shame. Like, you know, with like actual crystals in it, that would look terrifying. Also, I love as well, there's like people cosplaying with it, and it's fucking massive. Because of course it is.
It is.
Because it's actually wielding like 8-foot tall aliens. Is that one? Have you ever seen that? Is that guy who's like 7 feet tall who cosplayed Kratos? And it's like, this is what Kratos would actually look like, and he's fucking terrifying. He's an actual like 7.5 foot tall dude with a big beard, and he's like super built, and he's like, oh, he did a Kratos cosplay, and it's like people are stood next to him, like up to his like chair. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, stuff like
that is the El Needler. I'm curious about which one was, because I really like Mission Impossible, but I also really like the Needle. This is a podcast for me this week.
I mean, podcast for both of us, really.
Mm.
Yeah, we both brought something that both of us enjoy.
We did indeed.
Sometimes it's fun to kind of guide the other person's tips, and sometimes it's fun to come in and just geek out about stuff that we already know about.
Let's talk about needles. Pew, pew, pew. It's the best noise.
Karl doesn't like needles in real life, though.
I'm not bothered by needles. Have you ever seen someone who's scared of needles?
I know many people that are terrified of needles.
I remember there was like in school we had to get the TB jab. There was a kid at 15 years old. He was that scared, like they had to be held down. Keep in mind, he's like 15 years old. It took 4 people to hold him down. Because obviously he said, "You're gonna have to hold me down," and like all his mates tried, and they could. That's bring the gym teacher in to hold him down.
Apparently, it took like near enough an entire day of school to get my sister to get that jab. Because she was just like fighting off the nurses and like did not want it at all, and I had to call my mum into school to like go and just calm her the fuck down and shit. It took hours. See, in my head, if I was that like person doing that injection, what I'd do is I'd just say, okay, sign this piece of paper, and like, what's that for? So that's give me permission to get you. And I'd say, go to class. I'll see you soon. You won't know when I'm at. And just at some point, they sneak up on them with a needle. Like, make it like Assassin's Creed. I'd like it like, come out like a hidden blade. Like, you now can't get COVID. I've just got the image in my head of like, you know, you go get your school lunch and like you open up a sandwich and a needle just flies out and hits you. Like, yeah, I got you. Oh dear. But yes, I guess everyone in the comments just let us know which wiki won this week.
Yeah.
Either way, we're the winners, Karl.
Yeah. Cheers, everybody.